Have you gotten one of my patterns and are confused about how to make it? Today I'm going to answer all the most frequent questions that I get to help you get started in making these stained glass window hangings. Welcome to Epida Studio. My name is Elizabeth, and if you've seen my patterns, you've probably seen the collections of window hangings that look like stained glass. And a lot of people pick them up thinking that is some variation on quilting, which it is a type of patchwork, but it is a little bit different. So even if you are an expert quilter, you'll need to take the things you think you know about quilting and throw it out the window and start from scratch on these. So I'm going to answer the most common questions that I get asked from students, so you'll be well on your way to be able to make these. How are the black lines made? This is by far the most common question that I get. And a lot of people think when they see them that there's little strips of black fabric, and that's what makes the lines in it. But there is no black fabric. You can see in this window hanging that is not hanging in the window, there's clearly no black lines, but it is reversible. The secret is that in the seams, there are multiple layers of fabric, and not in the seams, it's only one layer of fabric. So when it's hung in the window, it's the sunlight shining through that gives it the stained glass effect. What fabric should I use? This is a really common question, and to be honest, you can do this technique with any kind of fabric that you want, any kind of quilting cotton, but the one that I recommend most is batik fabric. Batik fabric is great because it itself is reversible, so you don't need to worry about the right side and the wrong side. It comes in any color that you would want, it's easy to get, and batik fabric itself does give that glow that you like from the stained glass. Now, people will think you're weird if you're at the fabric store and you're trying to hold a piece of fabric up to the light to see what it's going to look like with light shining through it. But that's just part of the fun. In workshops, the most common thing we hear when people hold their finished pieces up to the sunlight is, wow, I didn't notice that in the fabric. And there's always some fun surprises in your finished piece. What color thread should I use? The thread color is a personal choice, and you might have to play around with a couple of options before you're really comfortable with this. But this technique is based off of traditional Korean projagi. In that stitching, a contrasting color of thread is used, so all your stitches are really visible. So I often try and copy that, and so I will use a contrasting color. So you can see in this piece, I've used a bright pink thread, so it's clearly visible. Whichever color you use, your stitching will be visible on at least some of your fabrics. If you are determined to have your thread match your fabric in every single place, then the best option for that is something that one of my students came up with. She decided she was going to stitch her whole piece with white thread, and then on the colored fabric, she would go over it with a permanent marker and color the thread to match the fabric. And that will be the easiest option. But once it's hanging in a window, you will not even notice the color of thread that you used. How do I do the seams? These seams are reversible, and so it is a different seam technique from regular quilting. You can see full tutorials for how to do these seams here and here. There are two different options depending on what you're joining, but they both have the same finished look, so you can use whichever one will work for you. Which side of the seam is the right side? So once people start to stitch with this seam technique, they will notice right away that one side of the seam has two lines of stitching and the other side has one line of stitching. And a lot of people, because they're used to the quilt police telling them all the rules and trying to enforce everything, people are very nervous of which one is the right side and which one is the wrong side, and I have to get them all the same and all matching. To this, I say it is reversible. It doesn't matter. Feel free to mix it up in a piece. And I know some people are thinking, you say it doesn't matter, but it matters to me. If it matters to you, it will be possible if you stop and think about every single seam carefully to get them all going the same way. I don't think it's worth the effort. If you're determined to do that, have your seam ripper handy because you will need it. So on this piece, I don't know if you can even see from that far away, the seams are all mixed up in different directions. So this one has 2 lines of stitching, and this one right beside it has only 1 line of stitching, but you have to be pretty close to be able to notice which is which. I tell my students, don't worry about it, just use them interchangeably and relax and have fun. This is not a precision piecing technique. This is a more relaxing, fun technique where you don't have to have an exact 1/4 inch and not everything is going to match perfectly. So once you let go of trying to have the seams on the same side, then I think you can really enjoy it. How do I hang the window hanging? Well, there are lots of options for this. You can choose to put tabs on your window hanging, or you can put a hanging sleeve at the top. I prefer to use rings with clips that are easy to use. They just clip on and they don't require any additional sewing. Will it fade in the sun? This question is asked every time. So the short answer for this is yes, it will fade in the sun. I have some pieces that have hung in the window for many years and they are definitely faded from when they were used. But my personal philosophy is that I make things to be used and enjoyed, and if I hang it in the window and I enjoy it for many years and then it does fade and I have to replace it, that's okay. I would rather have something used and enjoyed than stuck away in a closet to keep it in perfect condition but nobody ever sees it. But this is something that you need to think about. If that is really going to be a problem for you, that it will fade in the sun, then maybe you should consider a different technique, because if it is hanging in the sun, it will fade over time. And here's just a few more final tips when you're using my patterns or playing with this technique and making your own pattern. The first one is offset your seams wherever possible. In this Christmas tree window hanging, the squares are offset from each other, and that is on purpose. Anytime you have multiple seams joining together, that's a lot of layers of fabric. So if you had a corner where there's 4 squares joined together, that could be up to 16 layers of fabric, which is really difficult to stitch through. So wherever possible, offset your seams. Don't try and match them perfectly. My next tip goes along with that. This is not precision piecing. You might have corners cut off, things won't line up perfectly. That is actually part of the design and part of the technique. You might have to relax some of your expectations and realize that these pieces will look different. The last tip is to just relax and enjoy the process. Once you realize that the technique is different, it's not exactly the same as quilting, then it can be a really fun and quick project. Once you've done the piecing, then you're finished the project. So you shouldn't be just adding another UFO to the pile waiting to be quilted. It can be used and enjoyed pretty quickly. So check out my patterns, including the 4 Seasons collection, the gradient panels, and the Christmas tree window hangings, and more at epidastudio.com.